Eradicating Meghan and Harry, 8 words that could bring down King Charles. A storm is brewing for the king that he seems to have no idea how to handle and which could spell absolute disaster. Hello, and a very warm welcome back to our LVT News YouTube channel. It has been a very busy week indeed, for King Charles III. The first full rehearsal of the coronation procession has occurred in the middle of the night, involving the horses, the carriages and the military personnel who are forced to stay up, away past their bedtime. Meanwhile, it looks like the king and his wife, Queen Camilla, need to figure out how they can find the time to practice their little bit of the big day using the model of Westminster Abbey that has been jerry-rigged inside the Buckingham Palace ballroom, considering that so far, they have only managed to fit in one single run. So the king probably doesn't have a whole lot of time to flip through the pages of the royal history books, but he should probably be doing exactly that, because if there is one important thing that a rookie sovereign can learn along with "don't mess with the French and watch out for gout," it is this: beware of your aided can. The history of the British monarchy is absolutely filled with grasping brothers and sisters and uncles and cousins who were up to no good and caused a lot of trouble for even the best industrious sovereigns. And what about Charles? Well, he is facing this very special regal headache. If only somebody could point it out. In recent weeks, His Majesty has been busy accepting bits of what the Vatican says is the true cross, a gift from Pope Francis, and also trying to figure out why Queen Camilla is bothering to dust off the ivory for her part in the coronation. But there is a much more dangerous issue that has been ignored. And, of course, I'm talking about his idiotic kinfolk, especially Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and a great friend of the dead, sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein. And then how about his son, Prince Harry, who was probably the #1 source of web traffic for www.republic.org.uk, all the way from Montecito. It seems like trouble follows those who, wherever they go, but somehow both of them are still part of the royal fabric. So how much longer can these two sources of headaches be allowed to just go on and on unresolved? Both men are like a couple of self-pitying volcanoes that are erupting constantly. And then the palace has to clean up the mess. And then maybe they'll temporarily take a few steps out of public view, but then they start the whole process up again before too long. And this is a problem that has been accidentally brought to the forefront by another Prince Edward, a man who hasn't done a single thing to earn a headline in his own right in at least a few decades. Last month, Charles finally gave Edward what we assume to be his due. I'm talking about his late father, Prince Philip's Dukedom of Edinburgh. Of course, this title upgrade has in turn necessitated that the royal family's webmaster put down their can of energy drink and finally update the official website, including the page that lists the councillors of. But it is not Edward who is the problem on the page, but who else is listed on that page. There are 7 members of the royal family who can be officially called upon to perform many of the duties of the king. And 3 are actually non-working members of the royal family. Included on that list is a man who is facing a civil sex abuse case. A man who now makes his career out of sharing his trauma with paying audiences and going on and on about how difficult palace life was. And also a woman who is most famous for wearing a really ugly hat. I mean, really. This list is like an example of the kind of people you should avoid at a dinner party, and they are not suitable candidates to ever fulfill some of the functions of the head of state. Come on, having Harry and Andrew, and Beatrice is possible legal understudies does not make any sense. George I originally came from Hanover, and he founded what we now call the House of Windsor. Boy, he must be proud right now. Now, before anybody starts putting their hands up in the back row, I understand last year, Charles did request Parliament to pass a new bill to extend the list of councillors of state, and we understand why he did this. He needed more people than just Princess Anne and Edward, who he would actually call upon. So he made sure that in reality, Fruit and Harry and Beatrice will probably never be called upon to act as kingly standings. but still, it is not a good look. I mean, think about it, this unemployed golf addict, a Sloaney girl about town, and a man who allegedly makes podcasts for